Hi, marriage investors. I have a question for you today. Have your spouse ever came to you and said, make me a priority? Or felt like they have been neglected or overlooked or not spending enough time with them? This is a question that we're going to attack today. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We have so many things that we can get bogged down in life, our jobs, our children, our scheduling, social media, all these things that are crying for our time and attention. But have your spouse came to you and said, hey, what about making me a priority? Am I important to you? Or is that question even asked? That's the challenge that we're going to give. That's what we're going to dive into today. Many, many times, that message can be given in many different ways, and we're not even recognize it. We don't recognize our spouse need that attention. They come into the room, our schedules are so busy, we don't give them the attention, they don't talk to us about it, and that's what a lot of times we talked about. And what that word, let's first of all define the word neglect. Word neglect means not paying attention to. So, in our lives, we want to pay attention to our relationships. One relationships we must pay close attention to. And if you've been listening to my podcast or my videos or any of my material, you'll know that, of course, I'm passionate about this marital relationship and making it a priority. So while we're talking about this, just this month, I've published a book called Forever Together, Unveiling the Keys to a Lasting Marriage Connection. And in that book, I lay out 7 keys that you want to apply in your marriage to stay connected. And it's really about prioritizing, and that's what we're talking about today. Making your marital relationship a priority. And how do you do that? Well, it all really starts with the mindset. That mindset, and it takes time to do that mindset. And the reason why I name my book Forever Together is because that's the mindset you want to have. That my spouse and I want to be together, forever together. That means we're not going to break up. Our relationship is going to be for a lifetime. And that's what I mean by forever together. Life, you committed to each other for a lifetime. And early on in my relationship, my wife, Val, that's the kind of attitude we took. Valerie didn't like the word, and she called it the D word. And that's divorce was never brought up. She don't want the word said. So, in order to do that, what we did was commit to what we call the unity foundation principle. And that's the first principle I talk about in my book. And it's a biblically based book. It's a Christian book that really spells out a lot of scripture. But the first scripture that it really goes into is from Genesis 2:24. And I'm not going to go into it in detail, but you said we're just going to touch on it. It said, and to be joined to your wife. And that going into that is having that spirit of unity, that My marriage is a priority. And I've talked about it before in some of my other earlier podcasts about this topic. But I just want to kind of emphasize today talking about priorities. First and most priority, I think, in life is our relationship with God. As Christians, our belief is our relationship with Christ, the first and utmost relationship that we can have. And then, this is if you are married, the second person is your spouse, making that spouse your priority, meaning that person is come before anything else that might, be in your life, your career, your job, family, your whatever, but that spouse is. And that's why I would say it's a mindset that you should have, you can have, if you decide to embrace on these principles that you'll hear me talk about so much. So, back to what question that I said at the beginning. Make me a priority. Your spouse might be asking you to do that, to make them a priority, to put them before a lot of activities, a lot of things that you are doing. But in order to do that, you must decide, hey, I must make some tough choices that I'm gonna be committed to a day-to-day deposits into my relationship. And those day-to-day deposits includes daily choices of positive communication every day, being kind, being considerate, serving each other on a day-to-day basis. Now, that's why I call this marriage investors. This requires time and effort and making that person a priority. So, my challenge for you today is just consider making your spouse a priority. Just take a look. Have I been neglecting her? Or then why say, you ask yourself, have I been neglecting him? So the challenge is to just make them a priority. And if you make them a priority, make that decision that I will spend time with them on a daily basis, having those conversations, spending that quality time. Now, this is directed to the ones who might be feeling neglected. And it might be you feeling neglected because your spouse haven't, given you that attention, set aside and made enough time for you. So my challenge today is make those daily deposits, touching base with each other every day. You might be in the grind. What I call the grind is that insurmountable mountain of things to do. So in that insurmountable things to do, prioritize your relationship. Make your marriage relationship one of importance. Look at how you're spending your time in terms of your social media. How much time you're spending on your job. Maybe you're in a salary position. and you can work 10, 12, 15 hours a day. What about making that commitment, making an adjustment to your schedule to make that commitment to your relationship? Just some things to consider. As I end this, I just want to say you can go to my notes and get a free guide called Marriage Investors. It kind of breaks it down and gives you some exercise, gives you some things to do. And you can go to my website also at www.marriageinvestors.net. But until we see you again, make your spouse a priority. Have a good day.